Hey, what up? I'm
What's up?
Ribs of Joog Music, and today I got my man, SomeJerk.
Yes. Some
How's the
jerk.
beach today, bro?
Friggin' hot.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
hot at 9:30 at night.
fuck, that's right. So you're in Florida, correct?
South Florida, yeah,
South Florida.
specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it must be pretty not. I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Florida, but like it's pretty hot. Like it's relatively warm in the Bay Area most of the year. But like it's never like so hot that I like have to be in shorts, but I imagine you must be more often.
I barely
Um,
I barely wear clothing.
really?
Yeah. If I'm around the house it's like boxers, tank top. It's even with air, it's still hot. The week
Cool.
I spent in San Francisco and Oakland, I didn't sweat
Mhm.
at all. I was like so
Really?
impressed. It was like 80 and I'm not sweating.
When were you in San Francisco? When were you in the Bay Area last?
This was 2019. I was
Oh,
there to see
okay.
a band play.
Damn, that's
And
cool.
it was pretty cool. I got to DJ at a party for like one person.
Hell yeah.
I left the concert to go to my friend's party, and they were like, "Oh, we're sorry, nobody came." And I was like, "I should, okay, all right, that's
Oh
cool."
my God.
But technically, I got to play in San Francisco, so that's
Still,
all that
yeah.
matters. Right?
Yeah, bro. You're becoming stateside one party at a time.
It's taken a long time. I mean, I'm gonna be in Colorado on Saturday,
Yeah,
so that's
that's
pretty
right.
cool.
You're playing at the Black Box, right?
Yeah, I'm playing along with my friends that have a crew called American Grind, where they release, of course, grime and dubstep.
Hmm.
And I release. I've done a couple of releases, and I play their events. I'm not like in the crew. I don't
Hmm.
really join crews. I just kind of like hang out with crews, and
That's fascinating. Why?
yeah.
Why is that? I feel like over the years, like it's like, but I don't know.
Um, Nobody ever formally invites me. They
Mm,
just.
you're just there.
I'm literally just there. I think it's better to be like, for me at least, independent and do my
Hmm.
own thing and not really be weighed down by other things people have going on. Um,
That makes sense.
I used to be in crews, and then they kind of like turned into gangs, and then it got kind of weird because it was like DJs fighting DJs in the same crew. And after
That's
that,
weird.
after that, I was like, I'm just gonna work by myself, and it's worked out okay.
So that, yeah, because I mean that makes sense because like I wasn't around, but I heard rave was pretty gangster roughly 20 years ago. Um,
Yeah, now it's soft, but that's a different that's a different story.
yeah, but you've been at it for like 20, almost 20 years now, right?
Yeah, I've been producing for over 20 years. I started DJing in 2007, and um, I it's a cliche, but I didn't think I was going to be DJing. I didn't think I
Hmm.
was going to be doing any of this stuff, and I just kept getting opportunities and kept trying it out, and here we are. I'm on the
So
beach doing an interview.
so how'd you get into it? Like what kind of like pushed you into like getting into production and then later DJing?
DJing is kind of an easy answer.
Mm,
In 2007, my friend had a venue and he was booking Scream and Mala, who were the biggest dubstep people in the world at that time.
right.
And literally nobody played dubstep in Florida. And I
Mm,
was buying records just because I like to buy records and I wasn't trying to be a DJ. Um, so he asked me to play. And I spent 2 months waking up every day early as shit, learning how to beat match on turntables and
holy
yeah,
hell.
just kind of. But from the production side of it, I started getting into production in high school because I was really curious to how people were making hip hop beats. I didn't really. I thought they were playing instruments. I
Mm,
wasn't really. I didn't know about sampling. It was just kind of beyond me. And I had no friends that were into electronic music. And then when I was about 20, I went to Ultra Music Fest for my first and only time. And
uh-huh.
Goldie was on stage and he had records. There were no
Yo.
drum machines. There were no instruments. We just
Hmm.
had records, and I was like, all right, well, I guess this is what people do. Um, so I started teaching myself, and after a couple of years, I started using Ableton Live, and you know, I I'm from an era where we were just making music for fun. I wasn't
Hmm.
posting it for feedback, and I remember opening my SoundCloud account being like, "This is dumb." I remember posting things on MySpace and being like, "This is dumb," and
Damn.
then getting a couple thousand plays, and some of them got like 70,000 plays, and I was like, "All right, well, maybe this isn't so dumb." The songs are horrible. I listen to them now.
Yeah, I mean, you're
I was right, but people were still listening, and it seemed so easy at the time. Now it's like impossible. You can't even pay people to listen to
yeah, real. Well, I mean, you could definitely buy a bot, but like that's
music.
not the same. You know, you can definitely pick up on that after a while. Something's definitely off when like one track gets 70,000 plays, and the next thing you post on SoundCloud doesn't even hit 100. Like we can tell, bro.
It's pretty obvious.
hmm But like, damn, you just like went over like a bunch of like. First of all, didn't you just like open for Goldie not that long ago?
Yeah, I guess I've kind of opened for Goldie twice now. I got to play, I should say, I was asked to play down tempo set specifically to open for
hmm
him, and I was the only DJ opening, and I thought that was really cool. And a few months before that, I was, I guess, second to opening for him. I think
Mm,
Praise played right before me. That was super
damn.
cool. Yeah, that was one of those times where I was like, I really wish I had that recorded. I put a lot of thought and time into
hmm
practicing for that set, and I was like overwhelmed when I stopped DJing because everybody was, saying what's up and giving me props, and I kind of like
hmm
retreated in the corner and hide like I always do. Um, but I've
So
been
like,
lucky. I've
mhm.
been lucky, man. Some occasionally people put me on, and I appreciate it. I feel like, who am I at this point?
I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
I was, like I was mentioning earlier, like I've been downloading and playing your stuff out for a while.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. I like didn't honestly like thinking back on it. I never really like put that much thought into like, oh, dude, I gotta talk to the guy or anything. Kind of just like, I don't know. It just made sense to reach out and invite you to submit a tune on the compilation, which is actually the background behind
Yeah, it looks
me.
sick. I like it.
Yeah,
It's dope,
out on
man. I'm happy
August
to.
4th.
Yeah, I'm
It's
looking
called For
forward
the
to
Low
it.
and Lovers. Yeah, I kind of just like hit up a bunch of people, like both internet friends and people that I'm just like, you know what? I think this guy and I might could be friends. I'm just gonna reach out and see what happens. And like, I
Wait,
don't know. It's
I think
been nothing but go on.
that's what it's about, honestly. It's a collaboration,
hmm
reaching out to people, cross pollination, whatever you want to call it. I think that's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
And like I just see that you've been doing like a lot, you know, like even just going on your Instagram, like I see that you're teaching music production, you're a DJ instructor, like you run a label, like you're clearly doing some shit out there. And like, I don't know, like I don't stalk your Instagram that often, but like when I do, it's always like some jerk and like craze or like Goldie or
Yeah,
like you know you're clearly out there doing stuff. And have you always kind of just been like, sounds like you've always been like doing stuff for yourself. Has it always been that way? Like you mentioned cruise earlier, but like I don't know. Tell me about your like media journey a little bit.
I think it's for people that are looking at me and maybe like
Mm,
other DJs, personalities, whatever. Um, it looks like we're doing a lot of stuff. It looks like we know all these people. It looks like we hang out, but I keep to myself for the most part. Like I
mm,
literally stay home most of the time now. I literally I just I don't know. It's just easier to be by yourself and to, I think like focus on music. Like I've been married for a few years, and even before we were married, we've been together for I think 13 years now.
wow.
So I don't really mess around with
hmm
chemicals and stuff too much anymore, and I think that kind of changes things over time. Where like when you're young, you want to go out and pursue all this stuff and meet girls, meet people, whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I think I've been very fortunate over time to be again put on like opening for Goldie, playing at
hmm
certain events. I'm always a little surprised, if not humbled, when
hmm
I'm asked to play these things, because I know there are so many other DJs. There are newer DJs. There are people that are better than I am that have more followers. So when people take the time to consider me and book
hmm
me and pay me, that for me goes a long way. Um, but my whole thing is like collaborating, working with
hmm
people, but keeping a distance. Like we can be friends, we can be homies, but I try to keep myself separated from drama and
Totally.
from the issues that people have. And that's kind of a hard thing to do if you're like super ingrained and you're like in this like gang crew kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, I don't know. That's like part of the reason why I like started Joog music, because like I kind of wanted like a fresh start where like ultimately I'm like it's really like Shawnee B has been kind enough to be is awesome enough to be my mastering engineer, but ultimately like I make every and all decision with Joog, and like we'll see what happens, you know.
Yeah,
But like I totally feel you.
it's a good
Um,
feeling. Like
mhm.
it's fun to start things. It's fun to start to figure it out, and then you gotta like keep it going. You know,
Right.
it really is like it's always in the back of my mind. Like, what's next? I'm
Hmm.
finishing this song. I'm finishing this video. I'm finishing this thing. The
Hmm.
moment I finish it, I've got a whole new set of anxiety where I'm like, I have to figure out the next thing I'm doing, and it's like
Totally.
it's like a constant pressure
Hmm.
to
Keep
do that.
going.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but you also want to like put out better music and at
Of
the same time
course.
be like, for me personally, it's just about being true to myself at this point. Like,
Hmm.
I must really feel what I'm doing or I don't want to do it. Like, I have things I'm working on that I think I'm just going to tell the other artists that I don't feel it, you know, like I'm
Hmm.
not going to try to force it. And for me, that's hard. It's hard to be like, hey man, I'm just not like, I'm sorry, I'm not into this, but
Right.
you have to do that, you know. So that's my advice to you as a new label owner. You know,
Yeah.
keep it real and know what you want out of it, and you might have to hurt some feelings every so often. But
I mean, I've been blessed enough that like a lot of like the lessons that I didn't really see coming with like running a label, like as if like I don't know, as things have been coming up, I think I've been handling everything with stride so far. There've been a few times where I gotta like tell my homies like as much as I love you, this just isn't in line with what I have in mind for the label. Or
yeah,
like
yeah,
outright telling my friends like I love you and I understand that you're stressed about the deadline I'm setting, but that we're just not there yet.
yeah.
Just things like that. But I mean, I
It's
don't know. I'm
hard, man.
not. Yeah,
As
it
I
is.
was as I was submitting the tune to you, I had
Mm-hmm.
some other music I sent to another label that I like
Mm-hmm.
and I released on, and they were like, "Sorry, it just doesn't fit the compilation." And I'm like, "Okay," so I put it out myself. You know, you
Oh
just gotta
yeah,
keep moving, and when people don't like what you make, you gotta learn to not take it personally,
yeah.
because it really isn't about that. It's just about like, how does it sound? You know, like
Mhm.
it should be as simple as that.
Yeah, but you know, like when you're like in the middle of it, like it's way too easy to get caught up on like your feelings or like what your, whatever your fears are regarding this track or whatever your project is.
Yeah,
But I
I
mean,
mean,
like, go on.
I've had circumstances where I've released music on some of my older labels
Hmm.
where I wish I hadn't, where I listen to it now and I'm not like into it. And at the time I did it because they were kind of bigger artists.
Mm.
And I think that's part of why I stopped doing my first label was that I had all this, I had a couple things on it where I was like, I don't really like this. I shouldn't have
Hmm.
gone forward with this, but now with my current label, I'm really trying to take it slow, only
Hmm.
put out things that I like. I'm considering completely remastering my first few releases to like get them up to par. I've
Hmm.
learned a lot. Some of the stuff I put out 3 years ago, and I've learned so much about mixing and mastering since then that I would really like to make
Hmm.
it better. Not to rehash it, but I just want it to sound better, you know?
Totally. I see you've been like teaching DJing. Do you teach a lot of like product? Like, do you have a lot of students in South Florida? Like, are you like, in my mind, I kind of see you as like the jungle guy in Florida. So I just kind of just
Yeah.
figured hella people would be hitting you up, but like, what's it actually like?
Um, I mean, honestly, the last couple of years, things
Hmm.
have like winded down a lot. I've been working with Scratch DJ Academy
Hmm.
for 12, 13, maybe more years. And I was doing all my teaching with them because I basically, they're like, hey, come in at this time, this person's coming, I do the class. It's in like a setting where it's a professional environment. They're not in my room with my dog barking
Right.
and all that. And then the last couple of years, it's really winded down a lot. They've focused more on teaching DJing and less on teaching music production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'm also okay taking a break for a while from
Mm-hmm.
teaching. I got to a point where it's hard to talk to somebody about something that you used to be passionate about, like, hey, I'm gonna hype you up and get you super into this thing, right? That you paid here to come and do. You should already be hyped about it.
Right.
And for them to be like, you don't seem too enthusiastic, or like, you know, what happened to you? Me just being like, look, man, like it's it's tough out there, you know. Like I've been at it for a minute, and you try to tell them what's up, and they don't want to listen, you know.
Right.
And you get kind of tired. I just got kind of tired of all that, and trying to be real with people and not just try to like. There's a thing with teaching music. I don't
Hmm.
know. I imagine it's if you're teaching bass guitar, you're teaching drums, you're teaching DJing, you're teaching
Hmm.
painting, you're teaching anything. Um, way to put it. You're trying to sell them on continuing to buy more of it to get better and better, even
Right.
if you know in your heart they're never gonna get good at it. And a
Mm.
lot of these people come in and they're like, I gotta feed my family, I gotta feed my mom, I gotta do this and that. And I just be like, bro, you can't even beat math. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You
Boy,
know, like just
that's
like kind of like
brutal, yeah.
yeah. So it's tough. And the other thing too is like I when I first started teaching, I was known as the dubstep guy,
Hmm.
which was whatever. Then within a year or two, I was the moonbatone guy. Then
Hmm.
a couple of years later, I was the drum and bass guy. And I kind of, as trends changed, people were kind of coming and going.
Hmm.
Sometimes they would come for me to teach them, but most of the time they were coming because it was a trend.
Hmm.
And
Interesting. Wow.
it gets to be tiring after a while. Like I'm teaching these like rich suburban white kids how to make trap music, and literally showing them what trap music is and educating them about the ghetto and how the CIA and cocaine and stuff. Like they're like, "Whoa, bro, I just want to make hi hats," like.
Yeah, I
But
feel that.
I feel the responsibility,
Hmm.
and I also try to like push drum and bass, and I try to push drum beat, and I
Right.
try to show them these different styles. If they're playing tech house, I try to show them like more jazzy, deeper kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
but I had a lot of times where I learned about things that I had no idea about,
Hmm.
from students where I was kind of judgmental before. Where I had like a student where she was playing this one song, and I'm like, this is the cheesiest shit I've ever heard. And then she's like, "Oh, it reminds me of my brother, and he died, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm just a bad person. Like, I shouldn't,
Oh my God.
I shouldn't be teaching you. I'm so sorry. I'm way too cynical for some people." Um,
Jeez.
and I internalize that, and I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
I just want to teach music and all that. But at this point, I'm happy to be a producer. I'm happy to
Hmm.
make my own music. I try to help people and share things with them. Um, but yeah, teaching is kind of like winded down right over the
Totally.
last couple of years. Like pandemic had a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
And
I
me,
feel
I'm
that.
just yeah, it's just hard, man.
No, I get that. I during the pandemic, because nobody was really working, I like kind of picked up teaching Ableton.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And like I did have a handful of like students that were like coming back every week, and like, it was all good. But after a while, like I kind of felt like I was getting paid to like do work for somebody else, or like I did find
Oh,
myself like kind of
yeah,
playing. I did kind of find myself as like almost like a cheerleader at times.
yeah.
And
I
then
had a lot of
others,
that. Yep.
yeah, some sessions were full on, like just turned into like I felt like I was like, damn, this is what I imagine a therapist must go through, because like we're
Yeah.
talking about one thing and it's related to your feelings and
And
like
that's
some
what I'm talking
event.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have students that would pay for an hour or two,
Hmm.
and all they would do is talk.
Right.
And I'd be like redirecting them, like, okay, that's cool, but let's do this, let's do that. And after a while, I stopped fighting it. I was like, look, dude, if you want to pay $100 an hour plus to come sit here to talk, that's on you. Like I flat out tell them, but
Hmm.
you should focus on making music. I promise you, it's gonna make you better. Like I would just say
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like you gotta just focus on what I'm telling you for 5 seconds. Or I'd have people that like I would work on their tracks for them. They would say, do this, do that, and I'm like, I'm okay doing this. This is better than digging a hole. Like I'll sit here all day, move stuff around.
Hmm.
Um, but it's hard too. Also, when you have students that aren't anywhere near your wavelength. Never
Yeah.
mind different genres, but just like their vision is way different, and you try to, do something, and they're just like, no, 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 no.
That's not,
Sure.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the trouble, at least the trouble I've had with like trying to like teach or mentor my friends. Cause like now I'm trying to like, I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong, but like I'm trying to like explain that there's like more to the picture you're seeing, or like whatever direction. And I don't know, I just end up hurting somebody's feelings.
Right.
Um,
I come from what I would say a very experimental background. Like,
mm,
despite learning how to play piano, when I was first making music, I didn't give a shit about arrangement. I didn't care about composition. I didn't care about anything. I was just trying to make what I thought sounded interesting.
mm,
And my real turning point was in like 2006, 2007, when I was like, hey, what if there's an intro? What if there's a transition? What if there's a drop? What if there's like a structure? And starting to imitate artists I liked. I try to teach that to some people, and they are just like, no, this is not what I'm doing. And I'm like, you gotta have like, unless you're just gonna be doing like live PA and like
right.
noise and experimental sets, like cool, do that all day. But you want to be paid to DJ,
Mhm.
it's gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4 over and over again. And how you want to do that is up to you. And
Oh
some people just
man.
don't like that at all. And you gotta just, break their hearts a little bit, but then still
Hmm.
show them something cool. That's kind of
Right.
like what I learned. It's like a compliment sandwich. You're like, hey, nice shoes. You smell bad, but your glasses are cool. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they go take a shower and everything's better, hopefully.
Right. Now you're closer because of that. That's really, and you're
But it's,
bonding over it all.
yeah, but it just gets to be exhausting because then you go home and you're
Totally.
just like, I don't even want to work on music. Or I'd have the opposite. I would just be like, man, that class was so good that I would just like go home and work on music myself. Or sometimes I was like, that
Oh
was so
man.
bad. What I just thought was so horrible. I'm enabling this terrible person that I would just make the most fucked up stuff I could make, like breakcore, noise, like it was almost like screaming into a microphone, but like inside of Ableton Live.
Oh god. That's funny. Yeah, it's quite the visual. I imagine you both doing that within the DAW and also recording yourself, just yelling into different microphones and then like and putting them together.
I Yeah, it's the voice is a very underutilized
Mhm.
instrument. I can say that much. I
Yeah,
have vocal
definitely.
tracks no one will ever hear.
A trick I learned from my little brother who is, well, didn't even need to get into all that. Sometimes he'll record himself like beatboxing over his own music and then use that as like a percussion background. I've found that to be a pretty handy tool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so you've been an able you said you mentioned that you've been an Ableton user like the entire time you've been producing. To my understanding, I heard that like back in the day it was kind of a pain to like use Ableton. It's only gotten smoother. Like, what was your? Oh man, that face says it all. It was like that, huh?
Hold on, I'll show you.
Well, you'll show me. About to pull out a dat. Now look at that beach. It's crazy that you live right there. Holy shit.
This is Ableton Live 4.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it came in a box at one point. Um, yeah, I've been using it since I think I was maybe 20. My friend brought over a CD, some cracked wares on it, and he was like, "Yo, check
Nice,
this
nice.
shit out." He showed me for 2 seconds, and the next time he came over, I was showing him how to use it. Like, it was so. I had been using FL Studio. I've been using these other programs for a couple of years, just kind of like bullshitting, not really getting anywhere with it.
Mhm.
And the moment I started using Ableton Live, my brain I was just like this. It was like hearing a language that you didn't know, but you understood immediately. Like, I started learning so fast.
Mhm.
And I was in a situation where I didn't have internet, so I would print out the manual at work. I was using all cracked software. Yeah, I would read the manual at home and like try things out. Um, Took me a year. I bought a computer. I bought a copy of the software,
Wait,
and
so
that's
you
when I
bought a
started taking it.
were you using the work computer? What do you mean you bought a computer? Like,
Oh, I was using like a compact Presario or something horrible, and then I had a nerd friend that I gave $1,000, and he took like 6 months to build this computer for me. It took a long time between buying the software. It was making like $9 an hour, so like it was. But that's
yeah.
kind of like what I think the difference between me and a lot of people at the time is that
Mhm.
literally invested so much of my time and then what little money I had into learning production inside out because I loved it. Um, which I think is kind of what keeps me going to this day. And then you get
Mhm.
people that they want to learn it because they did ecstasy last week and they give up after a year. It's like watching teenagers pick up a guitar and get rid of it, like
I did
it
that
gets,
too.
yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, I picked up a bass guitar. I played it. I was absolutely terrible,
Mhm.
and I played in punk bands. And I was more
Oh,
interested in
nice.
recording my friends and I was more interested in doing like the reggae songs. Like
Mm.
that's kind of like how I got sucked into it. But yeah, once I started spending all my money on my software and my equipment, I started getting super into it. I read the manual for version 4 inside out. It was very short at that point. It was like 200 pages. That was like 600.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized a lot of people don't do that.
No, I feel like most people don't. I feel like
Nah,
yeah, I mean, I really like Ableton because it was only DAW I could kind of just start using without reading because like couldn't
right.
figure out the drum sequencer on FL, even though it's super simple. Um,
Yeah.
I opened Reason once and I just like closed it immediately. I'm just like, nah, not even gonna try. The patch
Yeah.
space scared me.
I had a roommate. I had a roommate that
Mhm.
used Reason, and he would always try to show me stuff. And he's like, "Watch this," and he'd hit the thing and flip the screen around with the cables. And I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" In Ableton Live, you just hit ARM automation or auto in, like channel in. Like, what is all this wiring bullshit? Like,
I
they're trying to make it look like guitars. I'm like, yeah, but
yeah,
what's it? What's the point of having a new interface if you're trying to make it?
Right. I mean, I'm totally just guessing, but like, I think it's because like even in the early 90s, like everybody was still using like Patch Bay for everything, and it probably helped transition, but
Oh,
like
100%, 100%.
help
Yeah.
people transition along. And I mean, honestly, like I ended up, I graduated as an audio engineer from San Francisco State University, where we had to use the fucking patch bay. And
Right.
so, like, I spent like what little time I did, like, using DAWs, avoiding things like that, only to like have to use it to get through college.
Yeah.
But like, haven't touched one since.
Well, now
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of with the modular and semi-modular stuff. All
Mm-hmm.
the newer plugins are set up like that. Like I love Cherry Audio, for example. I've been
Mm-hmm.
buying all their like,
Really?
they have these vintage synths, sometimes on sale for 20, 30, 40 bucks. Normally they're like $50 or $60, which is still pretty fair. When they go
Mm-hmm.
on sale, I grab them because they're modeled after these like analog synths from the 70s and 80s and 90s that are worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Damn.
And they have the little modular freaking shits, and you can plug it into this, you can plug it into that. They
Mm-hmm.
also kind of like fix things and take liberties to make things better. And I mean, that's cool. And like Reason's a plugin now. Like Reason's not even
Mm-hmm.
a full program at this point, I don't think. And you can use Reason inside of Ableton Live and
Yeah.
inside of FL Studio, which I think is kind of. It reminds me of like when Sega gave up on hardware, and now I can play Sega games on my Switch. It's like, yes,
Right.
Reason, you get it. You just do what you can to get inside of the console.
That's hilarious. Um, what has been your like go-to like so I feel like there's like I don't know, in my mind there's like creative plugins to do creative shit or there's like tools for
Right,
like mostly mixing and mastering.
right,
What's
right.
like your go-to like creative tool and you're like I want to like make some shit but I don't know what I'm feeling.
I mean that kind of changes over time. I
Uh-huh.
think that Ableton Live's sampler is a
Hmm.
very underutilized instrument. If you're taking existing samples, the last couple of years I've focused a lot on learning synthesis from the ground up and making my own
Hmm.
samples, exporting the WAV files, and then bringing them into sampler and doing things.
Hmm.
The last couple months, I got a new toy, as I call it, called like Adapter 80 Sculpt or something like that. It's basically a transient processor for like say your drums to make them punchier, but it's
Oh.
also got a compressor and an expander and a bunch of other stuff. And I've been kind of going back to older sessions and throwing that on top of things and trying to get better results out of it. Um, I just got a bunch of fab filter plugins last week.
Oh yeah.
Someone sorting me out with some numbers. I run everything I have is like legal and I paid for it, and someone was just kind of like, hey, here's some information. And I was like, all right, I was using the Fab trial anyway, so I'm like learning the Fab stuff now. I think eventually I'll probably buy it because like the stereo
It's
could
so
stop,
worth it.
the stereo could stop working. Well, yeah, now that I'm using the Pro L and learning
Hmm.
Saturn, Saturn is
The distortion plugin.
the saturation.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's saturation, distortion. It's
Right,
but
right,
it's
yeah.
multi-band. Most importantly,
Hmm.
I started watching a few videos, and that thing is incredible if it's used right. Like it's really easy to fuck it up, but
Hmm.
the right amount at the right time is like incredible.
Yeah, I find myself putting Saturn even on my groups at this point. Like, if you go to the color presets, the saturating color, I put that on my drums. It just beefs everything up, makes
Yeah,
everything pop out at you more.
yeah.
And I find myself using Saturn and Fab Filters multiband on like almost everything to get the different pieces to fit and to get certain elements to pop out at you more.
Right. Yeah, that's
Um,
actually why I got it was for the multi-band effect because I was
mhm,
looking for a multi-band compressor because I don't like Ableton Live's one. I've
mhm,
never. I don't know if it's the interface. It's just too like numbery. You know, like
right.
Fab
You know,
Filter. You just grab it and you
mhm.
move it around. And it sounds good. Like it's really hard to make Fab Filter plugins sound bad. Is what I'm realizing.
Yeah, I mean, I should have known because like Noisia were like doing tutorials for them in like 2012,
Yeah, yeah.
2011, but like I don't know, go
Do
on.
you follow Dan Worrell or Dan Worrell, whatever his name is?
No, I gotta
He's
write that
like,
down.
yeah, he does like their official
Uh,
tutorials. If you go on
oh, okay.
YouTube and you look up Dan Worrell,
Mm,
he's like this British dude that does all these like mastering, mixing and mastering tutorials. But what he does is he shows you the ins and outs of the software itself, and he compares the software to say like the analog piece of equipment, or he takes the Fab Filter,
Yo.
their EQ, and compares it to the Ableton Live one, and he does all these tests and shows you like what they're really doing. So it's like
Mm,
not a tutorial about how to master; it's about how the technology is working. And for me at this point, I feel like I need to understand it better. There's no more guessing and like fucking
right.
around. Like I just need to do things done.
I feel that. I feel like when I'm finishing music, that's definitely the mindset because I just want to get it done so I can move on. But
Yeah.
like you just gotta know when you're like switching between the creative side and like the diligent side of your brain, you know?
Right, right, yeah.
Um,
One more plugin before I forget. A
please.
couple months ago, I bought. It's called SubXL.
Oh, okay.
It's like a kick drum plugin, but
Mm,
it also has a lot of capabilities for making bass lines. And it's another one of those like, oh, I got it for $20 on sale, and I'm so glad I got it because I've been doing all my bass stuff with that lately. And it's
really?
basically it's a combination sampler that's set up with a synthesizer, and then it
Mm,
has a
okay.
bunch of effects. And there's only 5 or 6 effects, so you're limited,
Damn.
but it's good because you're limited. There's only five
Right.
effects. But yeah, check it out. SubXL. It's
Yeah.
really good. It's really good.
Okay, cool. 'Cause
All right.
I was gonna recommend Sublab, but like, oh wait, you sure it's not
That's
the
a
same thing?
Sublab XL. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what it is.
bro,
Sublab
yeah.
XL. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's so worth it. The majority of my bass lines, I feel like, well, yeah, no, you can do a lot within Sublab. I've never used like the XL, but it's on sale right now for $50.
you can get a cross grade for like $20. If you go to either
Boom.
Plugin Boutique or you go to their actual website, if you go to
Holy
their website,
hell.
it's always on sale on their website.
Oh, I pulled it up as soon as we're done
It's
here.
hella worth it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the original one and I was like,
Mhm.
this is okay. Then I upgraded and I you can trade some packs. I got a few of the packs.
Yeah, we will.
I want to
All
make
right.
some pretty soon. I'm still just like shuffling through
So
and trying things out.
few things because we're running out of time, but
Yeah,
like
sorry.
you stay making like cool media stuff. Doesn't sound like you will be probably putting up any tutorials on how to make jungle in 15 minutes or less anytime soon. But like do you see yourself like putting out like presets for like Sublab or like sample packs or anything like that?
I want to, and I've been wanting to make more tutorial videos like I was doing a few years ago. I have a giant folder of samples that I've been like creating and kind of
Mhm.
like keeping track of. I even built a website to do all this stuff, and then something happens where I just go,
Yeah.
someone else is already doing it. They're doing it better. Am I gonna make money doing this? Do I want to do this? Like a lot of stuff happens where I kind of
Right.
like psych myself out. But part of why I have the green screen in the back of me is
Mhm.
because I've been actually practicing making videos now.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get the video quality up to how I want it to be, get the audio quality up to how I want it to be, um, to do tutorials, to teach things, to maybe I want to find things that maybe people aren't already talking about, or
Hmm.
my like ambition that I'll probably never accomplish would be to like start doing documentaries on unknown artists or like unknown genres or like that kind of thing where people aren't someone hasn't done it, like I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean like
Mhm.
30 to 40 hours a week because I work from home and it's just
Mhm.
always on in the background. I'm documentaries, and what I've learned is that the more obscure something is over time, the more people will be into it.
Yeah.
So why do the same thing that people have already been doing?
I don't know. It's almost like, I feel like I feel like we have a similar vision because like I figured step one was a compilation. Step two is interviewing everybody on said compilation.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I feel that. And also I noticed like I learned that like no matter how niche something is, there's like seemingly always a market for it. Cause like there's always
Yeah.
somebody on the internet that's like has something of an interest in like pretty much anything we can think of.
Yeah, I
Um,
keep hearing the saying that there is no underground. There is no, I'm sorry, there is no mainstream. There is no underground. We're just here at this point.
mhm,
Um, whether it's like with rap music or electronic music or even pop music, like
mhm.
the most popular artists in the world are unknown to